like really own this place.
Yeah.
And so we went out of the funeral profession and hired a guy that has really taken it over. And like his whole goal is that we don't need to come, that everything's taken care of so that we don't have to come. So we have been able to start going up there less, which has been
Yeah.
nice, because we can think about, the next growth step and help out our office here a little bit more, because all of our resources were going up to Ohio. So
Yeah.
our Georgia team needs some loving too. So
Yeah, absolutely. Pierce, I wanted you to tell us about your business then that you have. I know you're a fourth generation, just like me, more of a cemeterian background. But tell us a little bit about what your family's business is in the funeral industry and how it
Mhm.
came to be.
Yeah. So we own 3 cemeteries here in North Georgia, North Metro Atlanta. And we also have a cremation operation here in Georgia. We serve basically all of North Georgia, and
Nice.
then one in Columbus, Ohio, oddly enough. So
Yeah, a little.
that's kind of,
That's all over the place. You go
yeah,
from Georgia
all
to
over the
Ohio,
place.
a little bit different
Yep.
there. That's for sure.
Yep. We did not know a soul in Ohio, the whole state. Well, maybe the state, but not anyone in Columbus.
You probably
Um,
knew LeBron when he was living
yeah,
in
yeah,
Cleveland,
yeah.
but
Other than that, we got nobody. So
how did you
went up
pick
there.
that then? What was your choice? So you had a cremation society in
Uh-huh.
Georgia, and then you moved to Ohio. What was the thought process since you didn't know anyone?
Yeah, when we opened in Georgia, we thought we were going to put like 3, 4, 5 locations all over the state,
Yeah,
um, and just quickly realized, we service all over just out of the one location. We don't need to expand in Georgia. So we started looking, what are other states what other metro areas that have similar population,
yeah,
cremation rates, things like that. And just kind of kept going back to Columbus, looking at competitors and who
sure.
else is there and those kinds of things. And it just seemed like a sweet spot. We can, here in Atlanta, you can get a direct flight anywhere.
Yeah,
So we could fly right into Columbus and get there quickly. And so, yeah, just kind of, it was a demographics decision. Like I
sure.
said, we didn't know anybody. So the first time my dad had ever been to Columbus, Ohio, was to look for property to build a cremation location.
Too funny.
So that's
Yeah.
that's how we ended up there. Really odd. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's called doing your research and figuring out what's best and what's fitting for your family and for the business. So where did this all come from? Where did it come to be? So I know you're a long line. I'm sure like close to 100 years or something like that of
Mm-hmm.
people in funeral service. Who did everything start with, and what was your family history leading up to present day today?
Yeah. So my great grandfather was an auctioneer
Okay.
in Rome, Georgia, and he was also a dairy farmer. And so we think what happened is one of his buddies from like Chattanooga, Tennessee, said, "Hey, I got this cemetery, and I think you could just make some money off of it," and basically gave it to him.
No kidding.
And he knew absolutely nothing, and he ran it sort of like that. Just
Yeah.
good old country boy, dairy farmer, and he just
Digging
served the
holes with the
community
shovel and
the best
throwing
way
them
he knew.
in.
Yeah. So then my grandfather obviously stayed in the business and just sort of grew it bit by bit. And then my dad is definitely more sales minded, more marketing minded. And
Sure.
so he's the one that really grew the sales organization, and really through state and regional associations, he started seeing these people out in the industry that were very successful.
Yeah.
And men like Gary O'Sullivan, who was actually a member of the Southern, um, he went and like almost like trained and studied under these guys,
Oh.
and went to these organization meetings and went to these sales
Yeah.
meetings, and just started learning from all these guys who were just very successful. in our industry, and was able just to grow from there. So
Yeah.
we had the cemeteries in Rome, Georgia, and then ended up acquiring different ones over the years. And then again, through organization meetings, everyone's talking about cremation and what are we going to do with cremation? And out of that, he kind of got this vision for serving the direct cremation families that are maybe more DIY consumers, that maybe want to have a service at the country club rather than the funeral home. And my dad just kind of had the vision that maybe there's nothing wrong with that. There needs to be someone to serve them. And so that's kind of how the idea of our cremation centers came about. So yeah, we owe a lot to, our family and sort of the people in our industry that gave so much time and effort to share their ideas at association meetings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's such a big part of what we do is the business side of things, and a lot of times it does get overlooked. And it's something that I have a big time passion for as well. And I think there are a lot of us that are in the industry that have that sense in them as well. And it's good that we're able to talk amongst each other and learn from each other, like your dad did, and like you have from the association, things like that. It's super important, because not only we're trying to do our best job serving every family, of course, but we're also trying to run a business. We're trying to be successful for our own families, to provide for our community as well. So there's nothing wrong with, I always say, focusing on the sales portion, the business side of things, because that will help us to better serve our families. So it all works hand in hand. And I think people might have that bit of a gross taste in their mouth because it is funeral service, and it is very different because you're dealing with someone's life ending. So it's so much different than if you're a tech company and you're doing sales for a tech company. It's like you don't even think, I'm going to be a salesperson. But the best way that we can do that is to be genuine and to come at it from an angle of, like you just said, Pierce, coming at the angle of these families need to be served. How can I best serve them?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And nowadays we have, not to pat you on the back, but we have all these awesome podcasts and blogs and things where people are just sharing ideas on how to best serve families. And we have benefited greatly from people like you and podcasts and organizations and blogs and everything. There's so many people out there that are so obsessed with serving families well.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that. And it's something that has grown immensely since I became a funeral director 10 years ago. It's a big change since then. It's still such a close industry, but now it's more open as far as who is willing to share with each other. And I think your dad was early in that realm when he would talk to people at other funeral homes, and when you go to these association events, which I would love to talk about in a minute. But opening up your mind to saying, like, what we're doing isn't the only way that things can be done. You have to be able to adapt and adjust and to improve. And the best way to do that is to learn from other people. When you learn from others' mistakes, you don't have to go through them yourself. So the best way to do that is to piggyback off of other people's successes, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's how we can all become better as an industry in general too, I'd say.
Yeah, no, definitely. We always joke that we listen to these podcasts and everything, and we get all these ideas so that we can do our own R&D, rip off and duplicate. And we're all in different markets and we're all serving different families. It's like, let's just share ideas and, raise the tide.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful, great point. And because our industry is so different, it's still, the vast majority are all smaller, a lot of times family or close individuals with each other, teaming up, whatever it might be, that we can learn from other people throughout the country, even the world too, about different things that we can replicate in our own business. And you're not feeling the need to step on someone else's toes because you're not a direct competitor. Like you and I are not direct competitors. We're in the same industry. we're going after some of the same people, but they're in completely different areas. And even if you were, like, let's say I was in Georgia
Hmm.
or Ohio, or you were in Chicago, we serve different families and who
Hmm.
have different needs. And I think it's the best way to come out on top is to learn from other people and to understand that, hey, we can all do this together to better ourselves too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we in our cremation business, we refer people all the time to the funeral homes down the street,
Yeah.
and they refer people to us. We have a great relationship with the other funeral homes because
Yeah.
we serve totally different families.
Yep.
We do cremation really well. There's another firm that does low cost funeral. There's another firm that's a traditional funeral home,
Yeah. Yeah.
where we're serving totally different families, and we pass people around and refer people because it's about the family, right?
Yeah.
It's where would they be served best.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that's super nice that you do that, and then you have that open line of communication. The relationship with people in your community is such a good thing, and something that was not a thing. I know when I
Yeah,
was a kid in this industry, anyone that was within 15 miles, 25 miles was a competitor, like competitor to
yeah.
our funeral home, and it's just not the case anymore, which is a good thing. I would love for you to talk about. You mentioned a little bit about the Southern Conference, and that's a lot about what we want to talk about on this
Hmm.
podcast too, for a couple different reasons. But I know that's something that's near and dear to your family's heart, and something that you've learned from and your whole family has learned from. Tell us about what the Southern Conference is, and the association that you're a part of, and
Hmm.
maybe some funeral directors throughout the country, or maybe in the South specifically, would be super interested in getting involved with an outstanding organization that'll help you one up your abilities in the funeral industry.
Yeah, the Southern is it's the Southern Cemetery Cremation Funeral Association, the SCCFA.
Long name.
Um, a long name, so we just call it the Southern.
You got to get everyone.
It's
You can't
That's
miss
right.
out anyone. You got to get the
That's
cemeteries. You
right.
got to get the cremation. Everyone's involved.
It's everybody.
That's
It's
good.
everybody.
Love it.
So, um, yeah, I mean, it spans from like Texas up to, from Florida to like Delaware. It's a huge,
Wow.
it's an enormous amount of states that can be a part of the Southern.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, we're really about education and about promoting our entire industry, which is why we include cemetery, cremation,
Yep.
funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we have a convention every year. So each year the Southern will partner with one or a few states for the actual convention.
Got
So
it.
this year it's Georgia, Kentucky, North and South Carolina, and Tennessee.
Yeah.
So all
Okay. So
five
a
of
lot of
those
states.
states,
Yeah.
their cemetery associations are partnering with the Southern,
Wow.
um, to have a big convention. So every year
Yeah.
it kind of moves around to different states,
That's cool.
um, and then different states will partner. The adjacent states will partner with the Southern. So it's a lot of fun. They recently kind of coined the phrase that it's the Goldilocks of conventions. It's it's not too small, it's not too big, it's just right.
Yeah.
It's a wide range of states, so it is a bigger convention. You get a lot of the bigger vendors that will come and exhibit and share ideas, and it's not a national or international convention where
Right.
it's massive and you're missing people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a close knit group of people. We know you see a lot of friendly faces and people that you've known for years and years, and I people come up to me and tell me about my grandfather and how is
Yeah.
he doing, and they know him from 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's it's a fun time. It's very educational. We learn a ton. We get incredible speakers. Robbie Poppy, the ICCFA's president,
mhm.
is speaking on leadership. So you get a lot of those, big giants in our industry
Yeah.
that will come. But it is intimate. It's a good fun time.
That's the perfect balance. I mean, I've been to the national convention, I've been to super small conventions, and they both have their advantages and disadvantages.
Hmm.
But I feel like the Southern is that perfect mix where you're getting still to interact with almost everyone there, or as much as you can, but still have a big exposure to a lot of people, which can open up to new ideas and new thoughts. And then
Hmm.
the fact that you have great speakers there, get some great education. That's just the best. And if you haven't ever like experienced, this is talking to our listeners, if you haven't ever
Yeah.
experienced like I used to, being fully transparent here, I used to only go to our Illinois conference. That's where I would
Hmm.
get my X amount of CEs. I would have to go to a couple
Yep.
more every other year, and then I would do the rest online, and that was it. And I
Hmm.
was totally content with that. And then I started getting a little bit more deep into the industry and wanted to be more and more involved in what the beauty of this all is. And I was like, man, I really can educate myself more by getting some different exposure rather than doing the same thing every single year. So I encourage any funeral directors, any people in cemetery work or cremation work to I'm not saying you have to go to the Southern, but obviously you
Hmm.
should. Like, it sounds like it's awesome. I'll actually be there this year with my brother too.
Hmm.
But go to try out some new conferences. First of all, for me, like from a funeral director's point of view, most of the time your boss, if you're not the boss, they're going to let you go because like, oh, you're getting more education. You got to get your CE. Great. You get some time off work. You get to go out of town. Like, what's better than that? You get to take a mini
Hmm.
vacation and you get to hang out with other funeral directors and enjoy the time together because, I mean, not only funeral directors, but anyone in funeral service, we all have that special connection because we do
Yep.
such a specific line of work that you can't really talk about unless you're amongst other funeral people. So that's another plus, and then you're bettering yourself. You're helping your own education, which is great for your own future.
Hmm.
What else? You're helping out your own community by getting better, your own funeral home, your future business, anything like that. So I suggest if you've never done it, like go out to another conference. But the Southern sounds like it's a pretty wonderful thing. I'd love to know some more about it. Like, what was your family's involvement? You said your dad
Hmm.
um, got involved and learned from a lot of people, and I believe you're on the board for the association as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So,
Cool.
um, yeah, so my family's involvement, my dad's, we've been going forever and ever. My dad is a past president.
Nice.
He's going to be getting a lifetime achievement award.
Oh,
If
sweet.
you
Good
have an
for
X
him.
amount, a certain amount of years in service of the industry. Um, and with that award, I mean, again, you have big names down here in the South, Gary O'Sullivan, Jack Frost. These guys are legends, nationally. Those names will be recognized, and
Yeah.
they're previous Lifetime Achievement Award honorees. So that's a big honor. So
Yeah.
we're
What
excited
does
about
that
that.
entail? So it's just like the amount of years in service, or what is it that your dad's getting?
Yeah, I think the main thing is I believe it's 25 or 30 years of service to the industry,
Wow.
and then you obviously have to have some involvement with the Southern.
Yep.
Most of the people on there are past presidents or at least have been on the board, things like that.
Yeah.
So it's a mix of duty to the industry and to the association. So that's pretty fun. And you have last year. Alan Blevins and Rita Augustin were the honorees, and Alan's daughter Lauren got to do the speech honoring him. So it's really cool. You have a lot
Yeah.
of just because of our industry, you have a lot of father daughter,
Yeah.
father son
Always. Yep.
stuff going on. So everything we do is a family affair in our industry.
Yeah.
The convention this year is every year there's like sort of a theme. A lot of
Sure.
times it's based on where we're going. So this year it's focused on the family.
Okay.
It's about our families that we serve and also our families. So we're going to the beach. We're going to Hilton Head, staying at the Westin.
Woo.
It's like it's sweet. It's resort style. They got cabanas and pool. It's on the beach, and it's gonna be fun. So
I'm gonna have to get
highly recommend that to anyone. So
I'll have to get the short
it is
shorts out for
definitely a
that.
vacation. It's educational, but it is a vacation.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm
Plenty of
busting
time
out.
to hang out on the beach.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. I've actually never been down to Hilton Head, but I've had some buddies go down there to golf and stuff, and they said
Yep.
it's just beautiful. Have you been over there before?
Yeah. So we actually had our convention there a few years ago at this same location. Loved it so much. We're going back.
That's cool.
If you come a day early, there is a golf tournament.
I
It'll be
did
a lot
hear
of fun.
that. Yeah,
Yep.
it's actually negative 20 degrees here today. I was thinking about getting the clubs out, but I think I'll probably break my wrist if I try to get one out of the rough here today. So
Yeah, mine are right there. You can see
I
them
can
behind me.
see, yeah.
They're not getting touched. It's cold down here in Georgia. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's cool.
but
I love that they have like a theme. I haven't really
uh-huh.
seen that in too many other places, and it makes it for more engaging and changes things up a little bit from just the same old thing. I'm assuming that's what the thought process is behind it.
Yeah, yeah. So like a lot of the speakers will have that sort of mindset of focusing on the family. So again, a mix of family service, um, sales oriented around the family service counselor training, and then also again about how can we take care of ourselves, how we take care of our families when we go
Yeah,
home. Um, yeah, so the themes have been really fun. They've
yeah,
been last year was our 90th year as
nice.
an association. 90th anniversary is apparently the granite anniversary, which is
Okay.
very appropriate for our cemeterians. So
Yeah, literally, yeah.
we had a lot of granite themed stuff.
Smart.
So
That's
yeah,
cool. How
so that's a
fun.
lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds super cool. I'm actually going to be the podcast sponsor or whatever you want to call it. If you've been to any of the larger conventions, a lot of times they'll
Hmm.
have a podcast host that bounce arounds or has a booth, and I'm so fortunate to be the one that's going to be doing it this year. So if anyone does come down to the Southern, you got to find me, or I will probably come find you and put a microphone to your face and ask you why on earth you got involved in funeral service in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, I will say we probably never had a podcast sponsor or a podcaster at our convention.
All
So
right,
that's exciting.
I'm the first. That's great. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I'd love to know some more. I guess like backtracking a little bit
Hmm.
to your family. I think people would be very interested in how you specifically got into the cremation
Hmm.
side of things, and what did that look like from a business perspective, because I know you're more focused on the business side and the marketing side of
Hmm.
things. What were some of the tactics that you used to build that a lot of funeral homes would find advantageous?
Yeah, yeah. So we we are mainly a cremation business, so we're not your traditional funeral home. Um, but mainly, we focus on serving a specific type of family or a specific consumer, you could say, rather
Yeah,
than just doing all things for all people,
yeah,
and rather than being mediocre at everything, let's be great at one thing.
yeah.
So that was kind of our take. Down here in the South, we like Chick-fil-A.
Come on now, who
They
doesn't?
focus on the chicken sandwich.
Yeah,
They do it better than anybody.
right. Yeah,
There's
that's a
no
good analogy there. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
So we think about cremation, and
and chicken.
how can we be the best set at what do the cremation families want? Convenience,
Yeah,
affordability. A lot of them are price conscious.
yep.
So that's kind of the business side of it, and looking at how can you build a business around a specific consumer
Hmm.
and what they want. So I think the cremation rate, it's over 50% now, and actually I think I saw maybe from the NFDA that 41% of cremations are direct cremations.
Wow,
So you think about that number, that's a huge number.
staggering. Yeah,
So there's a lot of families out there that maybe don't need the full extent of services that a traditional funeral home can provide.
yeah,
They are looking for convenience and simplicity and online arrangements and things like that. So
yeah.
we just looked at what can we do to serve those families, and so we do things like we offer. You can do everything completely online. We
Hmm.
do try to have a phone call in there. We think that most families do want to actually talk to a real human being.
Yeah, some
So
personal
that's really
touch. Yeah.
important to us,
Hmm.
having that personal touch. We have one arranger or funeral director that walks the family through the entire process. I think that's
Nice.
important.
Yeah.
They can own that family, and they can create that bond with that family that you would expect at any funeral home,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, So things like that. So not just trying to make it like, you know, just fast food, like let's just get people in, get people out. Um, we are dealing with grieving families,
Of course,
and
yeah.
so it's a balance of efficiency and that personal, funeral experience that people need to
Yeah.
feel cared for.
Yeah.
So you do have to find that balance, and we think that you can. A lot of people will say, you can't do it.
Right.
If you're low cost, you can't have good service. Um, Empathy and care don't cost anything.
Ooh, I like that
Um,
line.
and
Yeah.
so that's how we train our people. We don't train our people to say, hey, we're an affordable cremation brand, so don't treat people well. It's like,
Who's gonna
no,
do
no,
that?
no. We
Right.
expect you to treat people better, even though
Yeah.
they may be saving $1,500.
Right.
We think let's treat them a better experience than they would have spending $5,000 somewhere.
Yeah.
That's kind of our mindset, and our people have really latched onto that. They've really bought into the fact that people come to us a lot of times based on cost, but a lot of times just based on simplicity and transparency and convenience.
Yeah.
And so we try to serve people in that way. So that's kind of how we got to where we are, and we're always tweaking that. If we looked back 10 years, we kind of like laugh, like I can't believe we did things that way.
Sure.
But we've adapted and we've changed. We've gotten better with technology and with just training on phone skills and
Right.
using proper words, and those small things that all funeral homes work on, trying to serve families better.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of that for us is over the phone and on the removal, on the transport. It's just a
Super important.
key. That's important for every every funeral
Yeah,
home,
that touch
but
point, that
especially
first
for
touch point.
us where it's a first impression, and for us, we most of our families aren't coming back into the funeral home to meet with us face to face.
So that's
So
their
that may
only.
be the only face to face interaction.
Yeah.
So things like that maybe matter even more for us than it would a traditional funeral home.
Yeah.
But again, I think even traditional funeral homes need to think about that and go, that first impression really, really matters. Let's
100%.
put our best people there,
Yeah.
um,
Because
and
usually
let's
you
make that
don't.
experience really
You
good.
usually don't quite get that, to be honest with you, because
Mm-mm.
it's